Love of the Invisibles, How Ash Found Violet. Copyrighted 2015 by Nazeli Zelian. Optometrist's office. The nurse opened the door of the office that had Dr. Olander, optometrist, written on it. To her shock, everything in the office was a mess. Patients' files and papers on the floor, her flower vase shattered. She saw an open file on the counter. It was Violet Hammond's. Hammond was a regular. In fact, she ordered the most amount of glasses and contact lenses from them, different shades of brown. And the mystery of all was that Violet Hammond did not have any vision problems. Then it all happened fast. A man with dark glasses jumped over the receptionist's counter and, before she could react, held her neck with one hand and her arm with the other. "Violet Hammond," he said with chilling calmness. "Where does she live?" "There's no address in her file." He shook her arm. "Speak," he ordered. "We ship her contacts to a post office box." The nurse let out the word with one breath. "What color are her eyes?" the man asked the nurse, who was shaking. I'm not sure. That's the weird thing about her. Her eye color changes." That was when the intruder released her throat and removed his glasses, still holding her arm. The nurse reacted with a gasp. The man's eyes were the same as Miss Hammond's that appeared in wintertime, translucent light violet. "She seldom lets anyone see her without light hazel brown contacts in summer. Dark electric violet, deep, deep purple. I don't know how else to describe it. Please let me go," she pleaded. He pushed her towards the waiting room sofa, finally releasing her arm. His tall frame moved towards the receptionist's counter, grabbed Violet Hammond's file, and slowly moved towards the exit door, as if nothing happened. After coming back to her senses from the initial shock, once she was alone, the frightened nurse picked up her cell phone and ordered, "Dial 911. Health Spa and Ash." Violet turned off the facial steamer and wiped the client's face with a warm, moist towel. "Time for massage," Vera said with delight, without opening her eyes. That brought a smile to Violet's delicate face. All her clients told her that she had magic hands and that they liked to come to her even when they were sick or in pain, and her massage seemed to relax them to an extent that they would forget their pain and worries. That pleased Violet. She liked helping people, and skincare therapist was what she chose as a profession, because after finishing the cosmetology school, she knew that the salon, with its hustle and bustle, was too much for her. With clients lying relaxed with their eyes closed for a facial, she realized they wouldn't be startled if they saw a sudden color change in Violet's eyes. Sometimes her eye color resembled the electric violet, like the light of Tesla high-frequency visual machine, produced from argon gas in the glass electrode that she used to purify her client's skin. Sometime in summer, with the sunlight shining bright, her violet eye color would deepen like the color of bottomless sea, and in the winter would lighten to a translucent lavender crystal with only the irises darker than the rest. Her unusual eye color changes frightened and pushed away a lot of people that she cared for, and it made people view her from being nice to strange and to some even freaky. That's what happened with Violet's first adoption, with the Hammonds, who couldn't have children. She was 5 years old. She was adopted at summertime. That was the best summer, full of pool parties, water parks, picnics, and theme parks. Life was smiling at her at last. Her foster parents showed her around and pointed at her dark violet eyes. "Have you seen anything as beautiful as these?" They often talked about how lucky they were to have such a beautiful and cheerful child who had brought light to their life. It was all well at first. Months after Violet entered their home, Mrs. Hammond miraculously got pregnant, and they were all happily waiting for an addition to their family. And Violet was looking forward to a little sister or brother. Once the months passed and the seasons changed, Violet's eye and skin color started to gradually lighten, and the frequent visits to numerous eye doctors and dermatologists left them with myriad of diagnoses, with strange medical terms like melanin deficiency, melanin mutation, allergies, cataract, free radicals in the eyes, and the like, skin leukoderma and vitiligo, even though it changed all over and not in patches. Doctors' findings that varied from something mild to something severe to something fatal stressed and frightened Violet's foster parents to a degree that they could not handle the pressure, and they sent her to live with Mrs. Hammond's mother, Miranda. Granny Miranda blamed all Violet's color mutations to her being a dark creature, since when she stayed at home, her eyes stayed lighter as opposed to when she played outside. It was all doings of the demons, she would say, and she made Violet pray 3 times a day to recover her lost soul. After 2 years, Granny Miranda couldn't handle Violet either, who by then had turned to an introvert from a bubbly, happy girl she saw at first. She turned her to Father Gregorio, who in turn put her back to the foster home. Hence was her cycle of growing up, and by the time Violet finished high school, she was put to 2 more homes, and finally she was free, because she was 18 and in control of her life. She worked ironically at the eye doctor's office as a receptionist for 2 years, and found the miracle of colored contacts. She went through various shades of brown, dark brown for winter to cover her lilac eyes, to light brown contacts to soften the deep violet that shined in summer. No one could give her an explanation of her color changes, and she stopped looking for one. Finally, for once, she felt free of prying eyes and comments, and she was ready to live a normal life. She went to beauty school, passed the state board exam, and got her cosmetology license. But soon she discovered that salons' mirrored walls made her self-conscious around clients staring back at her while they sat in her styling chair. She then took classes at the Dermal Academy of Aesthetics and found herself at home. There were no mirrors in the treatment room, no loud noises of the blow dryers. Instead, there was well-balanced ambience, relaxing music, happy clients, and sense of satisfaction. She felt at ease. Her clients loved her. The owner of the spa was like a mother to her, and she was kind enough to let Violet move into the small apartment on the 2nd floor of the spa, since she owned the building. Violet's hands moved from effleurage to petrissage to friction vibration movement of the massage. Vera, her long-term client, made a satisfactory sound of pleasure and relaxation. "I'm going to put on the cooling mask. It will feel a little cold, okay?" Violet said softly, wiping the slippery massage cream off of her face with a warm, moist towel and applying the mask with a soft facial brush. "Uh-huh," said Vera like she was in trance. There were soft footsteps at the door. It was Ilsen, the receptionist. "I know that you're done after Vera, but could you take a walk in?" she asked with a half voice. Violet looked at the wall clock. It was 2:30 in the afternoon. She had to take her parcel from her post office box before it closed at 5. She would be finished with the new client well before 4 o'clock. "Okay, please have her fill out the client record card and ask her to wear the facial gown as usual. Vera's facial would be done in 10 minutes, she said softly. It's a man, Ilsen said. Okay, Violet said casually and went to check on Vera. Must be a client with oily skin, because most of her male clients complained about acne or of hyperhidrosis. No problem, she had all that was needed, the creams, the treatments, the steam, and her hands. The latter were great for acne. Even through gloves, she could feel some energy permeating through her body to the client's skin and drying any inflammation of sebaceous glands present on their skin. Her most satisfied clients, though, were teenagers. She opened up Tuesdays for facials for acne, and she worked late afternoons to accommodate young adults that were still in high school and she was booked solid till November. After letting Vera out from the back door, Violet set up the massage bed for the new client. "Violet, I'm leaving. Would you lock the back door?" Ilsen asked, her head poking between the door and the wall. "Of course. Have a great day with your new date tonight," Violet said, winking with a half smile. Ilsen nodded. "I'll tell you all about it on Tuesday," and she flew out of the room like a butterfly. The minute Ash walked into the spa, he knew this was the right place. He found her. He could feel her relaxed energy. He could hear her walking tiptoes about the room, even though he couldn't see her yet. He had never had a facial, and he had no time to get one now. But that was necessary to find out where she stood as far as her energy went. After all, she spent almost all her life away from her people. He didn't know what to expect. He wondered how she would look like, but he was raised to believe that looks were not important for a perfect match. "You will recognize her instantly," his Aunt Hermina told him before he left the Pine. If this was the girl that was kidnapped as a child, then he will make sure he would never lose the sight of her from this point on. Refi was in town. Ash knew that if Refi got to Violet, he would take her away forever with or without force. Refi was well capable to use that sweet persuading tactic that the Ref family was so famous for, or the super strong force that the Ref family was capable of. "Hello," he heard her voice, and his heartbeat elevated a notch or two once he raised his eyes to her. "Please follow me," she asked, directing him to the treatment room. He couldn't see her well in this light. Should he raise the power of his senses that he muted for city people? But then she might be alarmed. He knew that sooner or later he had to, though. He wished the front desk lady were there to dilute some of his energy, since city people were able to do that even without their knowledge. "I'm Violet." She stretched her hand. "Ash," he said. "Here he goes," Ash thought. He took her hand and his energy quickly rose whether he wanted or not. Violet felt a jolt of heat pass through her hand all the way to her head. "Those carpets in the waiting room make people electrostatic," she thought. Ash smiled despite of himself. "Hello, my dear." He has just activated her long sleeping senses. "That was my hand, nothing to do with carpets," he thought. What did I just think? Something about my hand and nothing to do with carpets? Violet was confused. "I must be tired. I see that you don't want your upper chest and shoulders massaged since you don't have the facial gown on. Would you like me to get one for you?" she asked sweetly. "I don't think I will be able to handle that." His thought permeated through hers. She clearly heard his voice in her thoughts, but to her amazement, she did not see him move his lips. "No, thank you," he said, and she heard the steady voice and saw his lips move. After the usual questions of consultation about his skin and whether he had used any retinoic acid or any other acne medication, Violet asked her client to lie on the treatment bed. Maybe it was a wrong idea to take this last client, she thought. "You have a perfect skin," she said, "so this would just be a relaxing facial." "That's right." He covered his dark charcoal eyes with long set of lashes. "Just go through the motions and it will be over soon," she told herself, unaware that the receiver on the other end could read all her thoughts. She started with the usual, the cleanser, the scrub, and then would be massage, mask, and toner. And if he wanted sunscreen, some men didn't, then no sunscreen, she heard in her mind. Keep calm, she told herself. Her therapist, Dr. Hasmik, had told her that mind reading is a myth. There were no extrasenses, no telecommunication, just very educated psychologists who pretended to read minds. It's just a phase. It will pass, like the problem with my eyes, Violet thought. She could hear her heart rate rising. Purple, their deep Blue Violet, she heard his sensual voice in her head. I wonder how light they would get in the winter. Okay, this wasn't me. I heard it. Oh dear, Violet thought. I need some fresh air. And just then she heard Ash say, Do you mind if I come another time? I forgot that I have another appointment. Well, you can stop now. Thank goodness! Violet took a breath of relief. This will be free of charge, then, Violet said. I already paid, Ash said, getting off the bed and putting some tip money into her white esthetician coat. For your trouble, he said, and slipped through the back door. Violet stood there, motionless. Either I was dreaming or I must be going crazy, she thought. She slowly walked to the bathroom and looked into the mirror. Her dark brown eyes looked back at her. The contacts were perfectly in place as she put them on in the morning. Love of the Invisibles, How Ash Found Violet. Copyrighted 2015 by Nazeli Zelian.